Hello, friends. I have to say, it feels slightly different when I say that than when I say, hey, people. Hello, friends. Immediately, I'm in contact with the reality of the relationship as opposed to a concept of a potential relationship. I've had so many things happen in the last 24 hours, I don't even know what to do this post on. But I'll start with an insight that came through this morning. I mean, this isn't an insight that came through for the first time this morning, but it's one that I found myself being reminded of. So I was talking to a friend of mine, someone who I'm working on a creative project with. And so she's a writer. She's writing a book. And what struck me in the way that she was talking about the writing process and the creative process of essentially living the story, reliving the story. It's a true story of a number of events in her life, and that she's then writing a book to capture. And it struck me that the way she was talking about the process, the creative process, the conceptual, like the reliving of that there's actually something so kind of amazingly profound about the way our minds, our psyches are all connected. You know, I thought so the way this came up was she was saying something about how the writing process wasn't just about words, and we were thinking about, you know, like what portions of the story are really the center of the story and what portions of the story aren't, and just all this stuff, all this kind of exploration of what it means to capture a story. And what struck me was, it's, you know, I've had the experience of reading something, and even though the words on the page may not fully encapsulate the meaning, I actually receive the psychic message with perfect clarity of what the author is trying to say. And that reminded me of times when, for example, I'm just having a conversation with Annalise or with Katie, and they, you know, and they'll say something that's not, especially Annalise, you know, she's just, you know, she's still wrapping her head around language, and so she'll say something incomplete, but I'll get a flash, I'll get the image of what she's talking about, and it's like she has psychically sent me the image. And they talk about this all the time with, you know, when you look at like studies of people reading each other's minds and all that, and they're clearly people who can be highly sensitive to that. But it struck me that there's this whole non-linguistically based language, non-verbally based language that's happening. And even beyond language, it's like just connections, a psychic connection. And so, in other words, when an author is crafting a story, they're not just crafting words on the page. They're crafting an entire universe, really, of concepts, perceptions, ideas, memories, characters, things, events, people, right? Just an infinite compendium of whatever the story is about, whatever the story needs, and that there's a reality to those things. That's the thing that sort of, we kind of, there's a way in which we can become very reductionistic in our thinking if we're not careful, especially if we're intellectual people, where we think that language somehow summarizes what's being spoken about. And actually it absolutely doesn't. Language is just a flashing arrow pointing to something. And that's all it ever is. It's never the thing itself. It's never actually the full expression. And, on some level, maybe that's obvious. And certainly if you like, linguistic philosophers have been talking about this for decades now, but it's just really kind of amazing to feel that and see that, and to sort of like recognize the significance of that within a creative practice, and how it's like what we intend to communicate gets communicated. And this brings me full circle to what I was saying about my cabaret last week. It's like I came out of that and had a great conversation with my friend Ruth, who said, what if you weren't doing this for us so much, but you were doing it for you and bringing us along? And that sort of gave me a huge lift in terms of kind of just understanding how I might go about this in a different way, how I might really fully own what I'm trying to do, what I want to experience out of this, and trust that is also relevant to other people, that I don't have to make my cabaret all about someone else, all about other people, in order for it to be relevant to them. So anyway, I think what's coming to me now is just this sense of the mechanics of that, and noticing that it's my psychic intention, it's my intention that resonates. And that's what I'm hearing. Like when Annalise says something, and she's not fully saying it clearly with words, but she has an intention, and that intention just pings right into my brain. It's like it just goes bonk, and the idea comes through. I get it. And obviously she's going to get older, and she's going to become more precise at saying what she means. But it's amazing to me when those moments of communication happen that seem to just, it's almost like they bypass language, or language is just sort of it's like if you're scanning on a radio, you're trying to tune into the right frequency, and you're sort of in that area, like the old school radios, and you just like, you can't, it's like, it's like kind of catching, but not quite. Well, language is that process of like trying to tune into the frequency, but maybe you're on one side or the other of it, but then bam, but then the message comes through on that frequency just because you're looking there. I don't know if that's the best image in the world, but it just came to me. But there is something about that, because it's not, the language isn't the transmission. It's just the dial that points us to the station. That's kind of a cool way of thinking about it. Language is not the message. Language is a homing beacon for the station, which we then tune into, and then the psychic communication can take place. It's funny because I just had a lesson with Madeline where that idea was sort of exploded on the musical level of, basically what I learned in brief related to this was I was playing a piece, and I've been focusing so much on the technique of it. It's an etude. It's a difficult technical piece. but my focus has been so much on the technique of it that I wasn't even hearing it, or not hearing it very completely. I wasn't really registering the feeling. And of course, what Chopin is saying is not hand position, hand position, hand position. That's not what he wrote. That's not the music. And so her message was basically like, listen, play the piece slowly enough that you can register every harmonic change, that you can register every nuance of the feeling of every time something changes. Listen to the left hand, which is only doing one simple thing, as opposed to the right hand, which is doing a giant flourishes throughout. And it's, in a weird way, the same message, which is, what's the actual intention here? You know, if my intention in the piece remains on the technical level, I will never embody the piece, because the piece isn't about the technical level. The piece is about what do we feel in the vibration of it. And so in other words, I can never master it that way. That's a path to mastery that doesn't lead to mastery. It leads to focus on a subsidiary dimension of what the actual thing is. A little component, a little tiny component of what the actual thing is, but not by a long shot the main thing. And so, and you know what Madeline is saying is tune into what you're hearing, tune into the sound, tune into the meaning, the actual meaning, the non-verbal meaning of the piece, the emotional, harmonic, vibrational meaning. And if you do that, the piece will start to play through you. It will come through. And the technique will follow that. The technical demands will have something to follow. There's this amazing, so this isn't, I'm totally riffing today, but we have a carpet guy, a guy who comes and cleans our carpets. And I swear to God, it's like one of these people who pops up and he's like this enlightened guru who just happens to be a carpet cleaner. I really feel like I'm in a book sometimes, because he comes in here and just starts spouting wisdom. One of the things he said the other day was, I always tell my employees, don't chase money. Because if you chase money, what's chasing you? The bills are chasing you. So if you chase money, you're always being chased by something that needs more money. I tell my employees, chase work, because there's always work. You can always find work. And if you chase work, what's chasing you? Money is chasing you. And if money's chasing you, what's chasing money? The bills are chasing money. So the bills are chasing money towards you because you're chasing work. And I was like, it's so beautifully said. But it's the same thing of what's our intention. You know, what's the underlying intention? Is our intention to get money? Or is our intention to perform work, to add value, to bring something into the world that needs to be brought into the world? If we do that, then everything else chases us. You know, it's kind of like if I'm chasing the heart of the piece, the technique will chase me. The technique will run along behind me and catch up to me because I need it in order to do the thing. It's like I'll be dragging technique along behind me. It's like it'll be following me as opposed to me reaching for it. It's the amazing recognition of alignment. You know, what is alignment? That's alignment. The alignment is the heart. You know, it comes right back to what I have been saying for a year now about putting meditation and spiritual work at the heart of my life. If I do that, everything else orients around around it, because everything else knows, oh, we're walking this way, we're going this way, and it all funnels in because I'm tapped in, as opposed to me trying to reach over here and find this thing and pick up that and bring that and grab that and bring it all along and hold on to it, and shit, that fell, I can't hold on to it, you know. What a zoo. But alignment, and it's like it all just hangs, it all just follows. I know this was a bit of a rambling post, but it feels like it actually kind of has a thread. It has alignment. Thank you, my friends. So much love. I appreciate you. I can't say it enough. I am so grateful for this conversation, so grateful for your engagement. Mwah. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.